Speaking of things that are great, we got Fitzgibberish. You ready?
I'm ready. At least somewhat ready this week to start Fitzgibberish.
Let me throw on your palm picture. Hold on.
Oh, boy. Hello, my friends. It's another edition of Fitzgibberish, a diatribe, a conspiracy, and an island in the middle of unapologetic and sometimes inaccurate sports talk. I have a title for this one. How Mr. Hitachi taught me to love sports enough to break my heart. To properly frame this gibberish, we have to go all the way back to 1991. Hit movie that year, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which allowed Arnold Schwarzenegger to build up enough cachet to sleep with his housekeeper, fathering a child with her who looked a lot like him. He's walking around his house with someone who looks like this, right under his wife's nose. Fitzgibberish pants made men everywhere look like prepubescent girls.
My God.
Look at those. That was a fad. The Twins won the World Series. The Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup. Michael Jordan beat the tar out of Magic Johnson's Lakers, while Johnson was poised to beat the tar out of HIV. And George H.W. Bush Sr. would soon reach a ceasefire in the Persian Gulf War. Growing up in the Fist house, though, war for attention was just beginning. To say we talked over each other like Charlie Sheen in the middle of a Coke binge is to seriously overestimate the power of Coke and the tiger blood raging inside Sheehan. Yes, we gnawed at the bone that was our parents and our own attention down to the marrow. But on this Monday night, after a healthy dose of Roseanne, Star Trek The Next Generation, and maybe some Family Feud, our anger would turn to Mr. Hitachi. The man had taught us so much and did not deserve it. He had shown us first kisses, broken hearts, trampled dreams, the stars in space, Supermen flying high enough just to fall to the ground. Yes, if you didn't see it all right when Combs shared it, Mr. Hitachi was a 24 to 27 inch screen TV, give or take. And he might as well have been 100. He was gigantic to us. The pictures, shapes, flashes of colors mesmerized us and fed our very dreams, especially since our other two TVs were the same size combined. Hard to imagine these days with walls, hands, laps littered with flat screen TVs. I don't know, maybe a couple of other things as well. The image that Mr. Hitachi would send us on that night in 1991 to our shame and fury was the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football against the New York City Jets. You can bump in here, Combs, if you remember this game, but some of the remnants of the 85 Bears were still there. Van Horn, Thayer, Hilgenberg, Singletary, McMichaels, Dent, the ever-widening refrigerator Perry, more like a walk-in cooler at this point. And, of course, Butthead, Kevin Butler. Quarterback Jim Harbaugh threw the ball to wide receivers Wendell Davis, not bad. Glenn Kozlowski, bad. Tom Waddle, okay. And tight ends James RoboCop Thornton. Any of these names ringing any bells? And often forgotten, but never too far away from my heart, Cap Boso.
Tom Waddle will always ring a bell.
Yes.
He is a national treasure, sir.
And Cap Boso. Sounds like a bad Marvel superhero. Their fearless leader was still Mike Ditka with a mustache as furious as ever, as rumors of his departure swirled through the winds of Soldier Field that night. The New York Jets brought Bruce Coslett as the head coach, Ken O'Brien, quarterback, throwing to Rob Moore, and Al Toon as his top receivers. Now, if the kid's dad in the Christmas Story was the maestro of swearing, my dad was a gunnery sergeant. On a warm, clear day with the front windows open during a Bears game, you could hear him from blocks away screaming, "You son of a bitch! Get that piece of shit out of there!" And the ever-present, "You stupid motherfucker!" This game was no exception, and we were all too eager to pitch in, minus the swearing. Of course, we weren't crazy. 30 minutes into the game, the Bears gave the Monday night crowd a show that they would come to expect from unoriginal mediocrity. Your score at half, 3-3. At this point, my 10-year-old body should have called it quits long ago and went to bed, but I was enthralled by what was going on in that TV. My siblings got picked off one by one. My younger brother didn't stand a chance, going to bed way early. It was my sister, no doubt, going to bed dreaming about those Z Cavaricis. My older brother, John, friend and enemy of the show, stayed firm with me for now. I no doubt stayed up for the fun of the fourth quarter. The Bears entered the final frame down 13-3, and a butthead field goal soon made the score 13-6. As momentum shifts, the noise only gets louder as Harbaugh begins shredding the Jets secondary, not something he did a lot of, and the Bears drive deep into the red zone as the clock ticks under 5 minutes. The camera pans to a nervous-looking Jets defensive coordinator. Guess who it was at that time? Yes, Pete Carroll. Just starting to get comfortable with a full-on pedo vibe on the sidelines. On 4th and 3, Bears quickly call timeout to discuss their plans to go for it, because when has a Bears 4th and goal ever gone wrong? ABC commentator Dan Deerdorf and First Hair Club for Men client is calling for Harbaugh to get some sort of run-pass option going. Number 4 takes the snap and darts towards the end zone on a QB draw. The hole looks open at first, but it's closed quickly by Jets Brian Washington, and he stopped inches short. Carroll goes crazy on the sidelines, no doubt already planning to pay college players to get ahead. After a couple of bad Bears penalties, the score still being 13-6 and the Jets driving, Dan Deerdorf predicts, "Son, you better head down for the tunnel. For all intents and purposes, this game is over. I'll bet a few thousand televisions were turned off at this instant, and all kinds of Bears fans went to bed angry," certainly referring to my siblings. As they go to commercial, Al Michael says, "Barring disaster, the Jets will have a very happy plane ride back home." Ha, hilarious, Al. After that, my brother John went to bed. Cut to the next morning at our kitchen table. My siblings slowly rambled into the kitchen, scratching their tired eyes, asking no doubt how bad the Bears lost the night before. It was my chance to take the stage. The attention we fought so hard for had been given up so freely that morning to me. Suddenly, Mr. Hitachi was talking through me. Standing on the rope pads on our old wooden chairs, I wove a story at 10 that could not have been accurate, but was full of energy. You guys won't believe it. What happened? Steve McMichael got a fumble and the Bears drove down and got a touchdown to tie the game. My mother monitoring the whole time and throwing in her corrections. Harbaugh passed to Neil Anderson to get the touchdown. And they went into overtime, guys. I took the story back from my mother. And then in overtime, the Jets were driving and they missed the field goal at the 11-yard line. Then the coolest thing happened. Some guy got full of grass. My siblings are lost now in the score. He's screaming, "Full of grass, Mom." Back to my mom. It was so exciting, guys, she yelled. Way too early for that volume, but none of us cared that morning. On 1st and 10, from way back there in overtime, Harbaugh passed to Caposo, and he ran through like 5 guys for a TD. There was a big sod of grass in his face mask, and he had to rip it off while he was mobbed by the other players. I can still remember her pulling her hands to her face to illustrate the play. Terrible 1991 replay, and why it was canned for a few years, if you remember. Would call back Boso's TD, but I would always remember Cap, the 8th round pick of the Steelers, and the former Illini grad getting that TD. Bears won by a QB sneak by Harbaugh. I'd also remember my brothers and sisters' faces. They were captivated, fascinated, and most of all, quiet. I was instantly in love with the power of the best reality show in the world, sports, and the best team I knew about anywhere, the Chicago Bears. But later that year,
Speaking of misinformed,
yeah, later that year, Ditka would be fired. Most of the 85 Bears would sadly age out, and years of historically terrible QB and offensive play would ensue. We asked the question last week, and in our fashion, we never got to it. Does Chicago have one good sports organization or team for that matter. I have your answer. We do not. There is a reckoning coming to teams that rest on their laurels in this town and others who show us fraudulent balance sheets displaying their team isn't making money while their team's evaluations rise by the hundreds of millions of dollars. Your losses are biblical. You ain't seen nothing yet. Listen up, teams that make a conscious decision not to innovate. Do you think there's any kids sitting around worrying about hot fires of their version of Mr. Hitachi with their families? Hell fucking no. At a certain age, if you get 5% of your kids' attention, you're lucky. They have their own worlds and their own screens now. So if you're a kid that sees Aaron Judge hit a home run, or what we see in Tampa this weekend with a fraction of the budget our baseball teams have, or if they see Steph Curry hit a 32-foot three-pointer, do you think they're going to want to watch Patrick Williams clank a 23-footer or wait out Jason Hayward's bloated contract? Hell fucking no. If Fields doesn't pan out, do you think they're going to want to watch this organization pick another QB when they can watch the guy they should have picked in Mahomes? Not going to happen. I sure as shit wouldn't want to do that in their position. Take this warning, Reinsdorf, Ricketts, McCaskies, and yes, even Wirtzes of the old sports world. Your time is almost up. These kids will jump off your bandwagon so fast, they'll twist a fucking ankle. Like the droves of people pouring out of big cities day after day, no doubt birthing thousands of doubting Thomases. That is Fitzgibberish, my friends, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it some more.
Hell yes. Hell yes.